just a little bit, please. Okay. Sounds of the shofar. The 4 traditional Hebrew shofar calls. The first shofar call is the tekiah, the call to attention. This call is a long blast. That'll get your attention. Yes, it will. The second shofar call is the Shevarim, the call to worship. This call is 3 blasts, low, high, low, high, low, high. The third shofar call is the teru. This is the call to warn. This call is 9 quick blasts on the shofar. The fourth shofar call is the tekiah gadol, the call for peace. This call is 1 long blast that gets louder and is held as long as the shofar player has breath. Now you know why I'm behind him. A shofar is the evocative of the Torah portion that we read on Rosh Hashanah, the story of the binding of Isaac. It calls to mind the ram stuck in the bush that Abraham ultimately sacrificed instead of his son. Reflecting on our own difficult parent-child relationship with God is also part of the shofar calls. The shofar is blown every day during Rosh Hashanah services except on Shabbat, during the preceding month of Elul, and at the end of Yom Kippur. At the Feast of Trumpets, the shofars are played. A rabbi gives a call, and the shofar players play the call of all 4 traditional calls: the tekiah, the shevarim, the teru, and the tekiah gadol. They are played like this: long blast, then 3 blasts, low, high, low, high, low, high, then 9 quick blasts, then 1 long blast that gets louder. There's a brief pause, and then this is repeated 100 times at the Feast of Trumpets. Each shofar blast has a symbolic meaning. The tekiah sounds like a woeful, the shevarim sounds like a cry of sobbing. The teru sounds like out of breath from crying so long and so hard. These represent brokenness and repentance. And the tekiah gadol represents the release after the sin and mourning, and the cheering victory glorifying God. This is a brief version of how that would sound when the 100 played. There are 3 types of shofar. The rock's horn, the white small one on the shelf downstairs. The ram's horn, the darker colored longer horn on the shelf downstairs. And the kadu horn, which is usually cream colored to brown in color and very long with 3 twists. I want to thank About My Jewish Learning for all the information I've given you here today. And I want to thank you for listening. Shalom. And if you have any questions, we'll try to answer them.
This is a Jewish connection,
Yes.
right?
And
this happens in the Holy Land?
yes. And they say in reference to it that it's the voice of God calling them. So it's either calling them to war, it's calling their attention, it's calling them to worship, or when it's the one of peace, it's calling peace in the land. Any other questions? Yes.
What's that?
It's a ram's horn. And we got these from Israel. I have one over here I can hold up. We got them from Israel. And they are taken from a ram, and the rabbis clean it, and then they bless it, And it's done what they call kosher. So the animals are treated decently and nicely, and the meat is used to feed families. And the horn is then blessed, and it is anointed with oil before it's sent to us.
Usually each family has one of those?
Yes.
These are from Israel itself.
Oh, okay.
These are made in Israel.
Do you know what a ram is?
It's a type of sheep.
A mountain sheep.
It's a man sheep.
Mhm. And when Abraham was told to, any more questions?
Now, the different sizes makes the different sounds too?
Yes.
They do. Yes.
And how they're prepared will make a different sounds too. If they're not cleaned properly, then they'll be it's almost impossible to blow.
It's a very special way that they make the
I see.
Very
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is it hollow when they take it off, or do they have to drill it out?
They clean out the inside. There is some
Oh, it's like
Material
cartilage?
inside.
Okay. Is it,
Marrow?
marrow, yeah, is it marrow or cartilage?
I'm not exactly sure what the materials are
Sure.
inside of it. Because we've seen them, I've heard of them being done in the United States, but they don't sound as well as these do.
These are both from the Holy Land?
Yes. And the one downstairs, the dark one, I know came from Israel. Did the other one come from Israel too?
I think so. As far as I know, it did.
Yeah, we get these, we order ours straight from the people who do them and the rabbi that blesses them and stuff. They come with telling us when it was blessed, when it was done.
How much do they cost?
When you get them straight from Israel, we paid about $50 for each of these. If you buy the ones that are American made, you can spend up to $1,000 on the ram's horn.
Yeah, they have ones that sound beautiful that are like 2 to 3
The
people long.
kajou horns,
Any danger, they would call out. But they would carry, the shepherds would carry them with them.
yes, ma'am.
Just to answer that one question, it is cartilage that they clean out.
Thank you. And another thing about the shofar is you're not supposed to just set them on the table. They're supposed to have a holder, and they're supposed to be always displayed in the holder or carried like this. So the Jewish people believe God calls them through this, and so you don't disrespect it. You don't just throw it on your table. You don't just let the children run and play with it. It is actually used in part of worship.
But they sound really cool when you play them both at the same time.
He likes to play with it.
Do it.
Yeah.
And they eat
But